Hey guys, Jeff here, and today I want to talk to you about pick handles. About a year back, I finally spent the money, which for poor man picking is a big deal, and bought the Sparrow's Spirit set. And in doing so, I started learning about the flat picks. Let me grab the example over here. Flat, stamped out picks with no handle. They work, but those are no fun to use. And when I got them, I had heard some suggestions and just went ahead and did something for the handles. I'll mention it in a second. But then back in August, I got the Kickstarter set from Lock & Kilo. Thank you once again. It's nice having an even smaller set to be able to carry around. But it led me to thinking and experimenting. So here today, I wanted to talk about my cheap handle setups here. So, starting with the Spirit set, I went super simple, guys. I did what a lot of people do, where I just put heat shrink tube on it. I got mine, I believe, from Harbor Freight. Did the 1/4 inch by 8 foot. It's the black, and it was a good size. Now, downfall of buying from Harbor Freight: this stuff is not the marine adhesive. Marine heat shrink tube, so it does not have the adhesive inside. So I found that the ones that I use a lot want to get worked loose. Started putting a dab of super glue at the end. Not sure how I feel about that, but we'll come back to that in a moment. Now, with the Kickstarter set, we already saw that I have the example of the plain handle here. Let's go ahead and put these in as they go. So the next thing I did in the Kickstarter set was I said, well, what if I had a little more bulk to the handle? So I took the hook, and I don't even know where I got them, but I had some of these really big zip ties. So I cut off the narrow bit and cut down to where it was fully wide enough, and I cut some pieces for the handles. And I think I had at least 2 out of a single zip tie. And what I did is I actually used my wife's hot glue gun right here. Very handy for this project. But I used her hot glue gun to put the pieces of zip tie onto the bare handle. And in doing so, I actually had a little bit of the hot glue sticking out the sides of this, which were very advantageous. Once I put the heat shrink tube on and heated it down, I could actually tell that it heated the hot glue back up, making the handle, I think, more secure. I've been using this for a while. I like the way it feels in hand. Yes, I know it's a little mushy. I know some people talk about that robbing feedback, but I'll tell you what, it's more comfortable, and I can pick longer with this than I can with this, or even that one. To me, the next logical progression was, what about wooden handles? So I took some popsicle sticks, or craft sticks, as you might find at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever, and I hot glued those on. Now, word of advice: hot glue can actually be pretty thick, so I actually, after I hot glued these on, I stuck this in a vise, used the heat gun to get everything soft, and then I squished this down so it was a little more compact. After doing that, I used my handy pocket knife to make this the right size, because I'll tell you what, those sticks are actually significantly wider than these handles. So I carved those down, I rounded the ends, and then I just went to town with sandpaper, trying to get rid of all the rough spots, trying to make it smooth. And I'll tell you what, this, especially after being sanded down, this is a very comfortable handle. And I had plans for more. You'll see that I have another one with a wooden handle in here and some heat shrink tube. My hope had been I could get this small enough that I could put the heat shrink tube over, see how that looked, see how that felt. But the truth is, the tubing that I have, the 1/4 inch tubing, is just too small to get over this. I've tried compressing it, I've tried sanding it. You can see I even got this end down here a lot thinner than the other end, and I still can't get it on. So, having made these, played with them, what is my conclusion? Well, For quick and easy, the heat shrink tube is better than nothing. It feels better and they still fit in the case pretty well. Heat shrink tube with the zip tie, really loving that. I'm honestly considering going back, changing all of these back to these handles just because this feels pretty nice. By the way, the other reason I use hot glue is so I can easily change any of these out. It's pretty easy to remove. The wooden handles, these are definitely by far the most comfortable. I really like the way this feels. It has some good potential. Now, if I was certain about doing this, instead of using the hot glue, I would use super glue just so I know that it would hold better. Downside, these wooden handles, even with a lot of sanding, they're still pretty thick. And if you want to keep them in the original pouches, and by the way, you'll notice I even took out 3 of the tensioners, but if you want to keep them in the original pouches, the wooden ones are just a bit too thick. So my takeaway, if I'm just going to keep a set at home, if I have a lock lab, I'm probably going to go to the wooden handles because it feels pretty nice. But otherwise, I'm probably going to go to zip ties with hot glue and then the heat shrink tube just because I like the way it feels. It gives a little more body, but it still fits well in the handles. I'm sorry, in the pouches. So I'd love to hear how you guys have approached these flat metal picks. What kind of handles have you put on them? You still carrying them in the pouches, keeping them at home? Let me know in the comments below. And guys, I will talk to you later.